All right, we're back. We are COMP305. That's Game Programming 1 at Centennial in the fall 2017 semester. And it's week 6, part 3. We're talking about enemy planes now for our little game. So remember, this is going beyond our first playable. My first playable, all I would have to have is the basic mechanic. And now we're able to fire bullets, and we're going to see some enemies maybe firing back at us. Okay? Let's see how this goes. We only have about 45 minutes left, approximately, maybe less than that. So it's going to be tough to do all of it. We're going to be tight on time, so I'm going to go a little faster than before. Okay. All right, we have our player, but we need our enemy. And I'm just going to undo these changes here to my bullets. I have all this already inside my file. And you can see that I have my enemies right here. Here are all my enemies. And I got to kind of decide here really quickly what kind of enemies I want. Normally, what I want to do is enemies that are easy to make, right? Because I want to make my enemies. I'm going to choose one of these planes. I think I'm going to make this yellow plane the one because it's kind of yellow, a little different. I want to give it an animation as well. I want to give it like the propeller animation on the way down as well. And there's a couple ways I can do this. I can make the enemy planes kind of hover underneath the clouds. It's not going to be affected by the clouds, and it'll be hovering, and it'll move, let's say, back and forth randomly. Maybe it kind of moves back and forth and spray until it hits my player. And when it hits my player, I want it to stop in front of my player and just fire, right? So kind of like hover over my player, like so it'll kind of move to the left or right, in a random pattern, left and right. And then when it hits my player, it will stop moving, fire the bullets, right? All right, first of all, let's make the enemy. Let's see if I can do this thing, right? So I'm going to kind of zoom in on the enemy, kind of just do one of those. There we go. And I've got a couple of enemy planes, but they're identical. This one and this one, there's no difference. So I'm going to take this one and then modify the way this looks so that there's going to be white on this side and gray on this side, and then one of them is going to be gray, just like our plane. So there's going to be 3 frames. All right, let's take a look at that. How do I do such a crazy thing? Well, same thing I did last time. I'm going to crop it out first. So I'm going to use my crop tool. And again, most modern image manipulation programs have a crop tool of some kind, right? Here's my enemy plane. This is state 1 from enemy plane. And I want to go in there by kind of going really close. And again, I only have limitations on my screen because I'm projecting. Let's go really close on my plane here and start erasing areas. I'm just going to go down here and use this view and start erasing areas. Now, there's some interesting tools you can use, like, for example, my little magic wand. And if I kind of pick areas of my plane, I could erase them a little quicker as opposed to making them come up slower. You can see that, but there's still some blue areas. I'm not happy with the area that's in there. And if I really want to be a stickler, so I don't want to make it look so that it's a big black outline like this, I kind of can go in here and really go into these areas here, the blue areas. And that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go to my eraser tool, and I'm just going to erase the areas. Sorry, got to deselect everything first. Erase the areas that are kind of blue to me. And in fact, if I really want to, I could just use my selection tool to do this. But you can see that the areas that are really blue, and there's anti-aliasing going on here, right? So I'm going to have to make some decisions, like I don't want to get any of this happening. I also have another problem. What's the other problem that you see for my plane? I don't have a shadow. My other plane has a shadow. This plane doesn't. It's going to look weird, right? And if I look at the thing there, I'm not going to make a shadow. Hell no, right? Huh? Boats. Yeah, forget it. No, I'm making a plane. All right, that's the design decision. You're a designer. You can make whatever you want. Me, I'm going to make a plane. I'm just going to get rid of some of the blues really quickly. And then once I've done that, once I've kind of killed some of the blue areas, and so only the browns are left, right, then we're going to be pretty good to go. It's not going to be perfect. And again, I'm modifying a graphic that's not my own. So I'm doing some little graphic manipulation here, but not much, just to make, again, a design. It's just kind of a decision. This is looking like pretty blue here too. And I'm doing some pixel manipulation at the lowest level, just so that way we can have a plane that doesn't have like a blue aura around it. You may like the blue aura. I don't, but that's just me. I want to kind of get rid of this area here, make it so that it's very basic, this plane. Maybe even these got to go, right? and this one. Same thing with these ones here. So anything that looks blue, it's got to go. Maybe I'll make that wing more squarish. Again, these are just, me trying to quickly make a plane. I think this has got to go too. Yep, that's pretty good. And this has got to go too. All right, there's my plane. Yay. And this is my first state of my plane, but you can see that there's three. There's this one. I'm going to make the one that's the other way around with the gray over here, and then the gray on both sides. All right, that's what's going to happen. Let me just take my wings out again. Yeah, I don't know if I totally agree with that one there being there. So sorry. That's a little better. That's pretty good there. Yeah. All right, let's save that. So say File, Save As. I'll save the sprite first, right? So instead of my bullets being in there, so you can see that I have other things in there, right? I'm going to call this enemy plane. So enemy plane, right? Because they're very, very basic. So if I want to make it really the same, I can probably call it something like in lowercase enemy plane 1, right? And now I want to sample. I want to get a sample of this right here. So I want to kind of get a sample of this to make it perfect. And what's this sample here? This looks like white, 0, 0, 0, 0. So that's easy. But this sample I want to get perfect. So I want to kind of, be able to paint this one. I don't want this kind of tool. I want this tool right here. And I want to, oops, I meant this one. And that's way too big. Let's make that one. And let's sample that again one more time. So sample. And I want to make this one the exact, make sure it's the same one on the same bitmap. Yeah. Meant to do this. That's better. And I want to change the bitmap. Notice that it is also anti-aliasing, which I don't want. I want it so it's like the same color. So I want to kind of draw this out a little bit so it's the same. You could change the anti-aliasing. Right now my stroke is a soft edge. I can make it a basic hard line. So that'll just do whatever I tell it to do, right? Again, it's just the way I just did that, right? So again, it's the same on both sides. And I'm going to save this as plane 3. So enemy plane 3, save as. Enemy plane number 3, because I want the third one to be the one that's looking like this, right? And now I'll change this back to white. So I'll go back to a white stroke. And I'll change this one to a white pattern over here. There we go. That's the only thing that's changing. And I'll save this one as, very simply, plane 2. Okay, and save. Good. I got my plane. That's simple, right? Well, let's see what this looks like in Unity. So I've kind of brought a couple of things into my assets. So if I go look at my assets now, under my sprites, I have enemy plane 1, 2, 3. That's nice. But I want to go back into texture packer here and add them in, right? So I'm going to go back into my stuff, into my desktop, into my Unity folders, into my Unity projects, into COMP305, into my sprites, and I'm going to pull those enemy planes in. So enemy plane 1, 2, 3, and I want to pull them in order. So 1, 2, 3. All right, great thing. Remember I talked about this. I can do a check the animation. Look where it's putting them. It's putting them in a different spot, right? But I can do a anim preview, right? So you can see that that's going to move. It's pretty small, but it's a little bit of motion, right? Looks like it's moving, like a buzzing sound, right? And I don't have firing sounds either. I don't have any kind of bullet sounds. I could add those in there. I haven't done that yet, right? I'm going to put those in there. They're going to be funny little sounds, right? Could do that, yeah, could do that. But my enemy is going to be in there. So now I need to update my sprite sheet. So I've done this. I'm going to save my sprite sheet, right? So again, I'm going to save my sprite sheet as mail pilot, just because in case I want to open this project up again. Mail pilot, right? So it's in the same, not here. Folders, Unity projects, COMP305. Here in my assets, inside my sprites. Oops, so actually I'll put it in my sprite sheet. That's probably the best way to put it, right? So save that one. But I want to publish too. I want to publish my sprites. There, it's done, right? And now that I've done that, if I go back to Unity, I've got my sprites, and down on the bottom I have my sprite sheet. And if I look at my sprite sheet, I see that I don't have my updated sprites. Why don't I have my updated sprites? Did I publish in the wrong place? Because this should have, I did it last time, huh? Different names. Wait. Oh, no. It did the same thing, but just went in the wrong directory. Yeah. So let's try that again. So I'm going to kind of delete these. Delete. Into texture packer because I changed the directory. I went to sprites, and I don't want it to go to sprites. I want it to go into sprite sheet. So I wanted to go up to sprite sheet. That's why I did it. Replace, sure. And same thing with this one. So I'm going to go here and go up into sprite sheet. Replace. And now, just to be sure, I'll publish. There's assets, sprite sheet. Good. Excellent. Now it should work. And the reason why I don't want to write over them is because they're being referenced by the other stuff, right? And I don't want that to, I don't want to have two sheets. So back to Unity. Go back to sprite sheets. And now I have my enemy 1, 2, 3. I can bring my enemy 1, 2, 3 in as an enemy. So let's just do one of these. There's my enemy. Bring him in. Right? I want to make a new animation, right? So under assets, right? I want to make animations. I want to call this enemy animation. Save. My enemy plane is pretty cool, right? Here's my enemy plane. Here's my sprite renderer, right? It's enemy plane number 1. I don't want enemy plane number 1 to be the one. I want enemy plane number 3 to be the one. So I'm going to drag and drop this one as the default setting. That's my first plane. I'm going to call this the enemy. There's only one for now. We could call this enemy 1, enemy 2, different kinds of enemies, small enemy, big enemy, whatever. For now, enemy is enough, right? In our little example. Okay, cool. My enemy has a transform. And what I also wanted to go is in my animations, right? I have my enemy animation and my enemy plane. So this is my enemy animator, enemy animator. I'm just renaming it, right? And my enemy animation. So if I go into my enemy animation, or my enemy animator, I have my enemy animation playing all the time. And just to preview this, if I press play, then I'm going to see my enemy nowhere. Because my enemy, unfortunately, is 0, 0, 0. And I haven't given him or the enemy any kind of order and layer. So let's go back to my scene, scroll out. Here's where the enemy starts off. I want to kind of have my order and layer as 2, same level as my plane. It's going to be a little enemy like this, right? And where should my enemy appear? Kind of like my top, right? But it's got to appear at a random location, right? Because every time I kill my enemy, I want it to respawn, right? That's why I'm saying we're going to run out of time today because there's lots of stuff to do for my enemy. Just my enemy alone, never mind firing bullets, right? I also need, so I got my sprite render, everything works. I need a some kind of collisions. I'm going to say physics. I'm going to make a couple things here. Now remember, my bullets are going to destroy my enemy. But the only way that the enemy itself can detect that the bullets are attacking, it needs a rigid body, right? Just like I did for my just like I did for my plane. So I'm going to go to physics 2D. I'm going to put rigid body 2D, right? And in my rigid body 2D, I'm going to say that the mass is 0. So I don't want it to be affected by anything, right? I'm going to say that the angular drag is 0 and that the gravity scale is 0. So it's not going to be affected by gravity or anything like that. Collision detection is going to be discrete for now, like before. We'll see if that works. I don't want to, I'm only going to move it left and right, just like my plane. I'm not going to move it down for now. Okay, so this particular enemy. But what I definitely want to do is freeze rotation. So I don't want my rotation to be affected by it being hit, right? And again, if I don't want anything else to be hit, I can just, turn these off too. But for now, this is the first part. Next, I want to add a collider. So I'm going to go to my physics 2D, and I want to pick a collider. This looks pretty squarish, right? And again, I'm probably going to pick a capsule collider, right? Because it's kind of round, right? Let's just go zoom right in there to see it. That's pretty good, right? Maybe even a circle collider might be okay, because I'm never going to get in there and no one's going to come from behind. You know what? This part, the square is too big. I think the circle is pretty good. If I wanted to edit the collider to make it a little bit this way, I could. Oops. I could change the shape of my collider, right, to make it different. But I really think that, the capsule is pretty good as it is. In fact, you know what? Maybe the capsule is too complex for what I want. Maybe I just want a circle collider. Just looking at it again. Yeah. See, that's just perfect. Circle collider. All right, I'm leaving it as is. I'm not even going to change it. Okay, so boom, boom, done. So my enemy's got a circle collider and everything else. My enemy needs some movement and some spawning capabilities, right? So I'm going to, before I put them into as a prefab, so I'm going to make some more scripts. I'm going to go to scripts here, and I'm going to make a new C# script called enemy controller. And all I want right now is my enemy to kind of patrol back and forth. So he's going to, when he comes into the screen, he's going to appear, he's going to come down a little bit. He's going to appear down. He's going to pop down into the screen at a random location, right, as an example. So first, let's think about some of the stuff I already have. I have my island controller. Here's my island controller. And now I have my enemy controller. Here's my enemy controller. So my enemy controller is here. My island controller is, let's go back to my island controller. These are all open. I can probably close some of these too, just so that way I can give myself some more, get all of these open, right? I just need these two so I can flip back and forth. I can close all these. Player controller keep open in a second. So I also keep my bullet open. But notice that some of the same stuff that I've got here, my reset position, all this stuff are the things that I want to keep. My height, right? I definitely want to keep this dot height. So I also made it that my island controller is a custom controller. And remember, am I ever going to collide with my enemy, right? I'm probably never going to collide with my enemy, but I know I'm going to try and do collision detection the same way with my bullet and my enemy, right? Or something like that in the future. So I could make it that way. I could say, well, is it colliding or not, right? I could do that. But I think I don't need to do any of this stuff. I definitely need reset. My reset position is definitely something I need. So I'm going to kind of take this serialization stuff and put it into my enemy controller. So things I can steal from my other stuff. So I don't have to redo it. Okay, so I took my reset. Vertical speed. I'm not going to have a vertical speed, but I'm going to have something called horizontal speed. It's going to go back and forth at a certain speed, right? So kind of take that. And I'm going to go down to this. Right? My vertical speed is going to be called horizontal speed for now. So horizontal. There we go. So it's going to go back and forth. Oops. And I don't need my height is colliding or my name. My name is enemy, but for now it's not going to come at me. I definitely need a reset. That means I got to make a reset. So I'm going to take this reset method and go back into my enemy, and we'll just put it down here. Now it says float random horizontal position is equal to random range, horizontal border, and horizontal border, right? But I don't have a horizontal border. Did I have that over here? I do. Okay, and put that into place. Almost I have everything that I did for my other thing, right? So now I have this working. So some random position, transform that position, new vector 3, random horizontal position, this dot reset position, right? So it's going to go back to whatever the position. Every time it resets, it's going to go back to another position. Okay, so Let's see what else it has. My update, a new vertical position is going to be in there, right? As an example, I'm going to do this. So for now, it's going to just go back and forth and not fire, right? And I'm going to change my transform position to this, and then I'm going to check bounds. And if my transform.position.x, because I'm going to check my x is 1, then I'm going to make it go the other way. So I need this check bounds function. I'm going to copy and change it. There we go. But this one, it's going to say this. The check bounds function is going to say, if my position of my plane, when it comes into play, if my position of my plane is on the x-axis is less than, won't be the reset position, it'll be the boundary, right? My horizontal boundaries, right? My is less than this dot horizontal border. Is less than equals to the negative horizontal border. But is less than or equal to, yeah, then I wanted to change direction and go the other way. So I'm going to say that this dot underscore horizontal speed, right, is times equal to -1. So I'm flipping the horizontal speed. So whatever the horizontal speed was, it's going to go the other way, right? And if it happens to be the other one, we're going to play with this thing. If it's greater than or equal to the positive border, wow, this isn't what I wanted. Horizontal border, not horizontal speed. Horizontal border and horizontal border. Really timing out here. I'm also going to multiply by -1, whatever it is. So I go the other way, it's going to come back this way. Okay, and then I'll flip it again. All right, so that's what this is going to do, my check bounds, because all it's going to do is check bound back and forth for now. It's going to patrol, right? And on reset, if I do have to do something, it's going to reset the random position wherever it's going to be, and then it's going to come down into the screen. And the reset position. I need the reset position, and the reset position is going to be it's going to be coming off the screen somewhere, right? So we'll have to figure that one out in a second too. So let me just go back to this one. So we've got this reset. This is interesting. So I want to do the new vertical position is the transform.y minus the vertical speed, right? And what I want to do is I want to take something like this so I can move it around. But it's going to be here. It's going to be, instead of new vertical position, it's going to be new horizontal position. And transform.position.x minus or we'll say plus. We'll say plus because it doesn't matter where it's plus or minus the horizontal speed. Make it horizontal speed, yeah, I did. All right, and then my transform.position is equal to new vector2 object, which is transform.position.y. The y position is not going to change. Transform.position.y. And then the new horizontal position is going to be here. New horizontal position. There we go. So that was going to do my stuff. And this check bounds is just going to check to see if I'm going to go back and forth. All right. That should give me some kind of control over the plane going left and right. And for now, I'm going to go to my enemy plane and see if it's there. I got to attach my enemy controller. There we go. And you can see that the reset position is going to be some value. For now, what I want to do is I want to be able to see it, the plane. So I'm going to make the reset position at the top of my screen somewhere. This is my reset position. So whatever that is, what is that? 196. So I'm going to copy this and put the reset position to 196. There we go. my horizontal speed, and my horizontal border. All right, so I got to figure those two things out too. Horizontal speed is going to be, I want to make it pretty slow, 5. It's going to go like this way, 5. Because remember, our cloud drifts about 2. So I want to make it like twice the speed of my cloud, going right. I got to figure that out. So I'm going to go back to my plane and drag this all the way to the left. So it's going to go all the way to this side. And that's pretty good. So I'm going to go to about here. Looks like it's negative 304. I'm going to say it's 304. Right? And let's check it out. See if it works. See if that plane moves around. All right, so that's kind of weird. Right? Let's make this a little bit scale a little bit smaller. That was really weird. Let's try that again. So what happened? It kind of bounced around over there, right? I kind of set it to start where it was. I'm just gonna make so that this plane starts randomly. And don't get me wrong. There's some error in my code, but that's fine. So I'm gonna make it over here and then try it again. See what happens. There. Yeah, it kind of moves left and right randomly for some reason. Let's see why it's doing that. So what am I telling it to do? It's saying so that when, well, first of all, let's see, do I actually reset every time? Oh yeah, I didn't. Haha. Call reset. And go to my enemy controller and put that in there. Reset. Do I need anything else from there? No. Height. Okay, so I'm saying that the new vertical position on update, the new vertical position is the transform.y minus this vertical speed. There is no, oh, that's this one, plus this horizontal speed. And this horizontal speed is being set to 5, right? And my transform.y position is the new vector 2 and the new horizontal speed, whatever that thing is. Horizontal speed, which is 5, right? So it's going to stay pretty much the same because I'm setting it up as a new horizontal speed plus, oh no, that's plus the x. That's good. Yes, that's a change. And then transform.position.y is going to stay the same. So that's not going to stay. Then I'm going to check bounds. And check bounds is going to say that, well, if my transform.position.x is less than or equal to dot negative this horizontal border. Oh, that's why. And let's try that out now. That should kind of make it move, make the actual object move back and forth. See? Right, so it kind of goes back and it kind of bounces and goes forward like this. That's pretty cool. Right? Does that make sense? And what I wanted to do is I wanted to detect for now when my my plane can be seen by it. Okay, when my plane can be seen by it. So for this, what I can do is on my enemy, I can add a new I want to add a new component, right? I want to add a new component called a physics 2D component called align. So let's take a look, see if I can do that. So fixed joint, hinge joint slider. Yeah, here is a LineRenderer. And I want my LineRenderer. So I don't want it to cast shadows. That's kind of weird. So I'll say turn that off. This is just for debugging. I don't want it to receive shadows. Okay. My width, it says is 1, right? It's my LineRenderer. My color is white. We'll make it white. We'll keep it white. And my corner vertices, my alignment is the view. That's good. Stretch mode, sort in layer, order in layer will be 2, just like everything else, right? And my width will be, let's make this like something crazy like 5 so we can see it. Generate lighting data, sorting and layer, default, light probes off, cast shadows, receive with my materials, size of 1. I have something crazy. Oh, 5 materials, no. Size of 1, no material. And let's add a material color. This what this is asking actually is how many materials am I gonna add in there? Let's undo that change. And I'm gonna make a new material for this. You want to talk about laser? Here's our laser. Folder, we'll call it materials folder for now. I'm running out of time, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna just make the guy get fired and killed for now. We'll make a new material. Let's see if I can get this in, and I'll turn off the material in a second. We'll call it the debug line material. The debug line material is going to have a color of white. Sure, color of white. A white material, which is going to be the albedo. And we'll have it not be reflective in any way. Sure. And then we'll take that enemy and we'll drag and drop the line renderer so it has material. There we go. Debug line. If I run this thing, we should probably not see anything yet. That's good. Cast shadows, size of 1. That's material size of 1. Positions size 2. Yeah, you know what? We're not gonna do this right now. I'm wasting my time, and I'll leave I'll kill it. I'll do it next week. But well, the next week we get in. But what I want to do is I want to create this ability for it to be shot down, right? So with 1 minute to go, if you guys can stick around for a few more minutes, when the bullet hits the plane basically goes away because I don't have an explosion sound. I can use thunder, I guess, but that's not really what I want. So let's go back to my sprites, to my scripts, and I'm going to go to my enemy controller script, and I'm checking for bounds, so it goes back and forth for now. And what I want to do is on collision avoid, on collision enter 2D. I want to make a collision 2D happen, right? Which is with some other objects. And what I want to do is I want to say that if the other object, if other.gameObject.name, right, is exactly equal to bullet, which is what we've made, right? Then this dot reset, right? Well, for now, we're just going to say this dot destroy. So destroy game object. So object. Actually, game object. Here we go. So it destroy itself. So if I hit it with a bullet, gone. Okay, let's see if that works. All right, so press play. And I have my little plane. See if I can hit this thing, and yeah, it's gone, right? So it's kind of cool. So I got my plane destroying my enemy. That's pretty cool. And I want some random spots for it to kind of appear, right? And we also, right now, for now, it just kind of goes left and right and doesn't do anything. Eventually, what I want to do is kind of focus on my player with a line caster, and I can't do that right now. Let's make some sounds really quickly. For this, whenever I make a bullet sound, I'm going to use something called, is it BFXR? BFXR.net. So here's BFXR.net. BFXR.net is a free online resource that gives you some very basic sounds. Like, for example, here's an explosion, right? Pretty basic, right? And if I don't like that, I can try it again, right? So it's kind of a simple explosion, right? I also do some kind of other sound, like a laser shot, right? Right? Which doesn't make any sense, right? So I want to make it so it's some other kind of noise than that little sound, and you can play around. Like for example, if you don't like the way it works, I'm not going to go into this too much now because I want to make it so when I shoot my weapon, it's just going to make the hit sound. So boop, 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 every time I hit my weapon, right? So I'm going to like that. I like that hit sound. That's the sound that I want. What I can do is I can just download that. I can play that sound again, right? And I can export the wave as an example, right? Export the wave sound. I'm going to put it into my Unity project really quickly. So I'm going to go to desktop, into my folders, into my Unity projects, into my COMP305 mail pilot demo, into my assets, into my sounds, my audio, fire sound. So fire wave, fire. Okay. That's the firing wave, right? That every time I hit the bullet, or I hit my button, it's going to make the fire wave sound, right? And for the explosion, let's see another thing for if it explodes. No. That's good. I'm going to make that one. So I'm going to take my export my wave sounds, right? And we'll call this explosion. Right? Explosion.wave, and I'll put that in there as well. For you guys who've never generated these sounds, if I go back to my audio files, there's a couple of files that's made explosion, fire wave, and explosion wave, right? I'm going to take those sounds and give them to you on Slack really quickly. So if you want to follow along later on, you can. So I'm just going to grab fire wave, put that in there, right? And explosion wave, put that in there. Okay, so you can actually play them in Slack, right? There's explosion wave and there's a fire wave. That's what it's going to sound like, right? And what I want to do is I want to bring them into Unity now. So I'm going to go back to Unity. So I want to bring those sounds into place. So now the sound when I click my button, that's going to be my plane firing, right? So I'm going to bring this back up here. So I'm going to see my my player. You can see that my player, any sounds attached to him right now, right? The sound is controlled by my game controller, right? And every time I press the button on my left mouse button, my game is going to make sounds, right? Remember, I'm using my game controller to control all sounds, right? Which is something cool. But remember that also that in my little example that I'm doing right now, I want to use my player to follow the sounds. There's only one sound that the player can make, right? So I'm going to kind of add a new component for my player this time in my audio called my audio source. And I'm going to take my audio that I have, which is my fire sound, and kind of put it in there, right? So close this up, go to my fire sound, and go to my audio clip. And I'm not going to play it on awake. I'm only going to play it one thing. I'm also going to turn the volume way down because that was way too loud. So I'm going to make it so that's like 0.5. Right, there we go. And every time I press my button now, right, so let's go do that first. So I'm going to go to my player controller. So we're going to go to the scripts. I'm going to go to my player controller scripts. And when I press the button, so whenever I press this button and I can fire, I'm going to make that fire sound, right, happen. Right now, the thing is I need to make a reference to my fire sound up here, right? So I'm going to kind of do this, a public audio source. I'm sorry to go so fast. Which I'm going to call the fire sound, right? And now in my player controller, you can see that I have my script. I have my fire sound right here. And I'm just going to drag and drop from itself. Remember I did this last time? From this audio source, I'm going to drag and drop it into here. In case I don't have to look at the audio source, I just know what it is, my audio source right away. It's right here. And once I've done that, I can go into my script and just play it, right? So every time I play, my fire gets done, I instantiate my bullet, something like this dot play fire, right, dot play. this dot fire sound dot play, okay, which will play the sound. That'll just play the sound. So let's try that out. Almost done. Almost done. Sorry to keep you guys. If I go through now and if I fire, oh, let's turn on the sound so you can hear it. Yay. Right? You can see that that works pretty good, right? And it gives me some sound to make. And now, of course, I need to make the explosion sound when it hits plane on my enemy. So my enemy, I'm going to make this a prefab next time we get together. But for now, I'm not. I'm going to go to add a component. We're going to add some. And again, for those people who haven't seen it before, here's my audio source. I'm going to drag and drop from my audio explosion sound in here. That's the only sound I can make right now, for now. Later on, I will make it so it can make other sounds because it will fire back at us, right? So here's my audio source. And I want to do the same thing with the script. So I'm going to go back to scripts. I'm going to do my enemy controller. And when it dies, before it dies, right? And I got a collision happening with the bullet. Now this is weird. This is where I want to maybe do it on the game controller. It'll play, but because I'm killing my own object, right? Object, it'll make a really shortened sound, like a, and then it's gone. Because by the time it's making this the explosion sound, I'm destroying it. The same object that's making the explosion sound is being destroyed. So the sound will never be heard, right? Or won't be heard long. So what I want to do is make another reference. So on the top here, make a new reference to an audio source, right? And we'll call it explosion, right? And down in here, what we'll do is we'll say, before I destroy my game object, explosion dot play. Right now, this is where we have to kind of think about how to do this. Maybe I want to delay my destroyability, this destroy thing, by using something called a coroutine, right? Where I call the coroutine after a certain bit of time. I wait till my play sound is done, and when my play sound is done, then I destroy my object, right? For now, though, we're going to see how this doesn't work, because it will destroy the enemy, and then before my enemy is destroyed, bad things happen, right? So here's my explosion. It's not going to play. Definitely going to make my volume 0.5 because that's way too loud typically. And what I want to do is I want to make a reference to the scripts. So here's I'm listening from an explosion. I'm going to take my audio source and drag it in there, just like I did last time. And then when I press play, I got two things to worry about. I got my clouds, and then I got my plane, right? I missed. I missed. Oh, and you see, I didn't make the sound because I destroyed him before he was able to make the sound, right? Yeah. Make sense? Because the sound is attached to him, so that's why he doesn't make any sound. When we come back, I'm running out of time. When we come back, I would make it so that I would keep all the sounds somewhere else. That's why the game controller is used for the sounds as opposed to the actual objects, because if I destroy my plane, it worked for my player, but didn't work for my enemy because I'm destroying my enemy, right? And of course, I'd also attach an explosion, and the explosion would be a new object, which I don't have yet. And that would solve my problem, right? I can make a new object called an explosion, the explosion itself, where I make my explosion have an animation effect, which I would make next time. And the animation effect would be my little explosion animation that I just got from my little sprite sheet. And then it would have the sound. Plane would disappear, but my explosion would still last. And it would be done when my sound is gone, right? Which makes more sense. So that's it for me. I made a lot of little changes to my game. One thing I haven't done is build and run it. I'm going to do that. You guys can go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to build and run it, modify it. When it's done building, I'm going to put it up on GitHub for you guys so you have everything, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up on my build so you can actually see the build like up on the website, my website, from anywhere. So you can see how that is. But that's really it for me, guys. I'll see you guys next time. What I will do is remember that next week, week 7, is your first playable is due. That time frame is not going to change, right? Even though whether I'm here or not, I want you guys to hand in your first playable, right? You won't be able to present it, but you'll be able to hand it in. And then what we'll do is when we come back, I'll get you guys to show me what you got, right? We'll do a little presentation thing. There'll be communications going out. But what I'll try and do is every week, if I can, more stuff, right? I'll see if I can do that. It depends if I'm able to or not. Don't know. Let me stop recording and I'll talk about it.